The piece de resistance tonight are the images that we have submitted ourselves. You are the star images.
Yes, it is alphabetized by individual members' last name, and then by first name if there's a couple involved. And we were asked to present 3 to 5 of our favorite pictures from the last year, and be prepared, if we wish to talk about why we selected these, what they have, what meaning they have to us, whether it be some new technical skill, just a memory that really is endearing to you, something that's just, you just like the image, it's just pretty, it makes you feel good, anything like that. And this is just going to be a manual slideshow. We're just going to go through it, whatever pace you want to. And the artist can talk about the picture, again, what the meaning was to them or why they selected it, if they want to. If they don't feel like they want to, there's no obligation. And if anybody has questions, certainly that's fair game also.
As you go ahead there and figure that out, I'll just add one more little thing, and that is on our member directory, you can look up John's address if you feel like writing him a card. It's real easy to find people's addresses if they've shared it with us. And, if you wanted to send them a note to say we're thinking of him.
And we start out with our missing president, John Anzavino. And now John's not here tonight, obviously. We know that already, but he did give me a few remarks. So the first 2 pictures by John are from the Quiet Valley farm, which is one of his favorite places to photograph. They were taken in October at the Harvest Fest. And the first 2 pictures are from Quiet Valley. So this is the first. This would be the second. Very nice picture, very pastoral. Okay. And then that is followed by a picture that actually he and I went for a photo shoot up at Forever Green, and he took this picture. So it has special meanings for him. He'd never been to Forever Green before, and he really enjoyed going there, and there's just a peaceful feeling of it, he said. And that's the reason he selected that picture. This is Broadhead Creek.
And feel free to unmute yourselves if you want to share anything, if you want to talk at all.
Yeah,
right?
Please. Just butt in. But of course, I'm working from a script here. I can't really answer any questions for you. And I think we all recognize this particular picture right here. And again, he said he just liked these. This is the East Stroudsburg switching tower. Okay. And that completes John's 5 pictures. We move from there on to Lorinda Fay, and Lorinda is here. So, Lorinda, would you like to speak about your pictures?
Sure. Okay, so this one I put in, I recently had the opportunity to go to Alaska on a cruise. And what was so incredible about this part of the cruise was the cruise ship went down this bay to the end of Glacier Bay, and it actually did a 360 in like an hour. So all I had to do was stand in one spot all morning, and as it turned, I was able to get a whole 360 view of all of the mountains and the glaciers, and they did it twice. So I was in my glory, a little cold, but it was really an incredible opportunity when I went to Alaska in October.
I had the opportunity to do that once also, and I actually recognized this scene right here, and it was very special, quite outstanding.
I'd like to know what scale that is. It's hard to understand.
When we went to Alaska, I believe this is the same glacier, and it was 2 miles across. And I measured the town of Palmerton, and it's only a mile long. So that's how big it is.
I believe, this glacier was called John Hopkins, which I was like, well, how did that happen? Like, I mean, he's known in like the Delaware area. I was like, I don't know why this was John Hopkins Glacier, but that's what it was. And that was the end. You couldn't go any further in the water.
I know that if you get up closer to that great glacier, you're looking up at it, that first portion of it. It's much higher than it looks.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Okay, next one's coming up.
So this is one from, I did a workshop in Wisconsin. It was a macro photo workshop back in June. And the lupin were just incredible there. And it was just a very special, the macro photography workshop had 4 high known macro teachers, Jackie Kramer, Charles Needle, Mike Motes, and Ann Belmont. So it was a really incredible experience. So I wanted to share that. And I used a little bit of topaz on this to kind of make it more of a painterly effect.
It worked.
Very nice.
Yeah, stunning.
And the next one.
And this one, so one of the few things that I have been trying to do with my photography, it's been a little hard. This has been a pretty rough year, is I take a course called Florography on Facebook. And it is taught by Jackie Kramer. But what she does is she brings in guest photographers on a weekly basis and has a technique class and then a review class. Most of them I cannot attend live, but they record them all, and I have access to those recordings for over a year. So this one was one where I was learning how to do, taking 2 pictures and putting them together and then working on the textures in the background. So the one flower that's up front was not part of the original picture. There was a big blank space and I felt it needed something else. So I took that from another picture, added it there, and then blended it into the current picture. So there's like 2 are put together.
That's interesting because it looks like natural bokeh. Okay, next.
And this is another one. I went to one of my favorite places. It's down near Easton. This is a dahlia garden. I went with the Lehigh Photo Club, and one of the things I was going to suggest to Sam is that maybe the Pocono Photo Club could arrange to go. The woman who owns the garden is wonderful to work with. She welcomes you. This dahlia garden is just to die for. You go there, I just feel like I lost in heaven. And I took this image with my Lens Baby Velvet 56 lens, and then I played around with it a little bit in topaz just to kind of pick up that painterly feel to it. But that was something I was going to suggest as a place for us to go. It's really straight down 33, 1 exit on 78, and you're there. So it really isn't too far for us. And I think that would be a really fun outing for the club at some point if you're into flowers and dahlias.
And the next one.
This is my last one. The reason was taken with a Lens Baby. I participated in what was called the Lens Baby Photo Walk in September. So what it was you were given like a scavenger hunt, and on one day you were to go and shoot as all of the different items that were identified in the scavenger hunt. And then you were to submit them. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Lens Baby lenses, but that's an international competition. There were over, I believe, 3,500 submissions, and this picture took second place. So I in the whimsical category. So I was really excited to actually be recognized, not only with a local competition, but this one was across the world, I guess, because people use Lens Babies everywhere. So I was kind of excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
So that's what I was up to this last year, and I still don't feel like I did anything. So Life gets in the way
Well,
too much.
That first picture, Lorinda, of the lupin, was that lens baby also, or was that just topaz?
No, that most topaz did the effect. That was probably just taken with my macro lens.
Yeah. Okay.
any other questions or comments for Lorinda? Okay. Well, Terry was planning on speaking about his images himself, but they had a death in the family. Just wonderful timing for that, of course. And so he did send me a couple of remarks to speak about. The Smoky Mountains, the soft clouds on the early morning mountains with the sunrise was in the Smoky Mountains, Smoky Mountain National Park. It was about an hour's drive outside of Gatlinburg, Tennessee, plus another half-mile up the hill walk to the tower. Harder than an old man, but worth it, he says. Beautiful. Kind of a classic picture. And this is calls it the pink bird. It's a spoonbill, which I took at the rookery in St. Augustine at the alligator farm. Kept trying to get a shot showing off the beautiful color of the wings, but with a good shot of the head. Think I got it, he says. That's a beauty. Getting the painted bunting in flight has been a goal over the winters in Florida. They are very fast and not easy to find. I had to use Pro Capture for this one. That's just stunning colors. Also had to use Pro Capture for the bluebird in flight. Got lucky there. Were two playing around a little birdhouse. And I do not have a remark for this one here, but it's a beautiful case of framing. Probably not around the Stroudsburg, huh?
I believe that's Garden of the Gods in Pikes Peak in Colorado.
I wouldn't argue with you, Ray.
Stina and I were discussing what is Pro Capture.
Pro Capture is a Olympus feature. I don't use Olympus, so I don't know that much about it, but it gives you a way to press the shutter, and I don't really understand exactly how it works, but it takes multiple shots and in some sense gives you a shot before you press the shutter, which of course is impossible, but that's the idea that I get from it. I don't know
Okay.
if there's anybody
I can speak to that, Ray.
Okay. Sorry, Bob.
It basically, if you put it into Pro Capture mode, it starts taking pictures immediately when you hold the shutter button halfway down, and it puts them into the buffer, and it'll accumulate a certain number, 20 to 40 or so. And when you fully depress the shutter button, it then will take the ones that are in the buffer, a certain number before you press the shutter button fully down, and a certain number after until you release the shutter button. So it gives you basically a way to capture the action without having to be able to actually capture the action at the moment that it occurs. You can go back in history, as Ray mentioned. It's a very nice feature. It buffers it, and if you sit there for 3 minutes holding the button halfway down, it'll continually take pictures at whatever rate you selected. But at a certain point, it starts dumping the pictures off the backside. So it's constantly adding new ones and dumping old ones, but it'll capture a certain window before and to the point where you release the shutter button. So it gives you the opportunity to catch things that are not easy to catch.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay. And that ends Terry's pictures. And Amy Giraldi is up. Amy, are you here? I didn't see your name.
Yes, hi.
Oh, wonderful.
How are you? Hi,
Thank
everybody.
you. I'm wonderful. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so would you like to speak to your pictures?
Sure. So We went this past summer. We took my mother, my husband, and I to Nova Scotia on a hiking vacation. And I shot this. Actually, we had a rainy day and 2 hikes were scheduled that day. And my mother and I and half the group with us bailed on the first morning hike because it was pretty chilly. And I'm glad we did because we ended up, this is the LaHave River, and we ended up at a bakery / bookstore / local hangout / little market. And it was like their local Starbucks in a way that you could go down and find big comfy chairs and settle in and just drink coffee and eat bakery goodies for as long as you wanted on a day like that. And I looked out the window and all that gray, but the raindrops, there's a little distortion from the path of the raindrops on the outside of the window as they just kind of traveled down the window. And I just really liked it, save for that yellow Adirondack chair and that orange mooring buoy. So I was really happy with that photo. It was, who would think that you go on a hiking vacation and the rainy day is one of your favorites? So that's the story behind that photo.
That's natural color there? You didn't have to do any
yeah,
black and white?
The only thing I think I did is there were a few other mooring buoys that I didn't want a whole bunch of them. I just liked the one. I think I just took that out. That was it.
That's my kind of photography, sitting in a coffee shop, looking out the window.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice and dry and comfortable.
Okay, so I've given away my secret. Okay.
So this was kind of a gift to my husband's birthday. He's always been he's an environmental guy and nature lover. And we went to Lakota Wolf because he's always been very interested in wolves. And last February, we went to Lakota Wolf, and that was a great experience. We had a great day, had a great time with him, and it was a private tour. And I took so many photos, but this particular wolf, I loved him. And he stood in that kind of triangle of tree trunks and looked at me as if you don't have the sense to, take the shot. Then oh, my lady. And so I clicked away, and he was just beautiful. And for my husband, that was like both of us, one of like our favorite shots from that day.
How much telephoto did you use on that picture?
Oh, I wish I could tell you exactly. I was probably all the way at 400.
Comments?
Hey.
So I had mentioned in Nova Scotia, it was a rainy day and we bailed on the first hike. Well, I went on the second one and I'm glad I did. I just loved the way the greenery on the forest floor, was in contrast to, I guess they're like lichens or some sort of a moss on those trees that gives that greenish but silvery look. The only thing I really did to this photo, I think, is I kind of rubbed out my husband. He was in the path ahead of me. So he had like a backpack with rain gear. And I said, well, I think I want the shot without him. So I took him out, but that's what it looked like. And you go on these paths, and if you look down towards like where the path takes you towards the center of the picture, that's pretty much underwater. I mean, it was really wet. But then you would just follow the path around and come out to this rock cliff where the ocean was just kind of crashing. So I'm sure it would have been beautiful on a beautiful day, but I was actually really glad we were there on a day when the conditions were really kind of rainy and overcast. So this was in my garden, I guess late summer, early fall, because that's the daisy in bloom. And I was out with my dog actually, and I noticed these little spots, a tiny spider, and they look like little crabs that just lay in wait with their big forearms stretched, waiting for, some sort of flying insect. And I just kind of got fascinated. I like weird, like unusual subjects, not the thing that you maybe want to put on your wall, but they're just cool. So I grabbed my tripod and my macro lens, and I'm totally klutzy with tripods. I actually get frustrated. But I worked on this and I did a little photo stacking. It didn't come out quite as sharp as I would have liked. But when I looked at it, I just liked it. It's like you could see his eyes, like his little yellow eyeballs and all the little hairs. And I had quite a number of this. It's one of these things that I start, and I think I'm doing it for 10 minutes, and it's like an hour and 15 minutes gone by. It's like, all right, time to stop taking pictures of the spider. But I like this one the best. I think he was just staring me down.
Do you remember how many frames you stacked?
I think that was probably about 5.
Yep.
It's a great picture. I love the way he's standing there.
Did
They're
you
so
manually
tiny. anything.
advance it, or do you have a rail? Like, do you have a?
You know what? I do have rails, but I didn't use it. I manually did it just by turning the focus ring, because that's another thing I get frustrated with the rails too.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Sometimes the technology gets in the way of
I kind of
the
love
art.
and hate it.
It's creepy, but cool.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, the next artist is Bob Hare. Let's see what he has to say.
Oh boy.
Okay. I actually submitted 6 pictures, but this is not really one of the submissions. This was the original picture I took. I went to the Rail Fest at the National Rail Museum in Scranton, and they were dedicating the Big Boy, which is a massively large locomotive that they used to use out west for hauling coal and minerals up and down the mountains. And you can see the dedication crowd over to the left right there. But I wanted to make that into something a little bit more dramatic than a picture of a dedication. So I just tried flexing my skill a little bit here to see if I could turn it into something a little bit different and a little bit more interesting. So I'm fairly pleased with that right there. Of course, it could be better, and I would love to be able to get some fog in there or some steam to really give it some atmosphere, but my technique hasn't gone quite that far yet. But I was able to add a light to the original light because it was not on. If you look at that one right there, and of course I was able to turn it from day to night, which is not actually as straightforward as it seems. So it was kind of fun.
It's fun. I like it.
This was This was at the ice harvest that they had this last year. They had to skip a couple of years because of you know what, and so this was the first time they'd had it in a couple of years, and it was cold and it was windy and it was terrible. But they had this beautiful old Ford truck right here. I mean, just in pristine condition. So I carefully moved around to try to get rid of all signs of modern vehicles and appurtenances, and to try to make this look like a picture from the old times. And so I made it into a kind of a little bit of a sepia tone a little bit, and added a little bit of grain to it to try to make it look a little bit older. It still looks a little bit too on the modern side for me, I think, right now, but still it was a fun exercise on a very cold day.
Oh, wow.
This was with the grandkids in zoo, the Stone Zoo up in Massachusetts, and there was just a bunch of flamingos who were taking naps. This is how they take naps. They retract one of their legs and they just go to sleep on themselves. And the ultimate in down comforters, I guess. But I just looked at it and it was just such an interesting shape. And so I basically isolated one of the flamingos, and I tried to blank out everything in the background just to come up with just a very interesting form more than anything else. And that's probably as artistic as I can possibly get. But I am very pleased with it.
So you did you shoot it did you shoot it like that? Oh, you took the background out after?
I took a picture. Well, I took a lot of pictures of these guys, and there was a whole field of them, and I could show you one with just nothing but wall-to-wall flamingos. But then I zoomed in on a couple of them, and then I think I cropped in considerably more to try to get rid of all outside influences. And then I highlighted it and took everything that was outside of it and just basically removed all light from it to try to give it just to emphasize the shape and the form of the flamingo itself. It was an exercise, just a technical exercise, but also a pretty one, I thought. Other
You did a
questions?
good job isolating the bird. You really
Yeah,
did.
I kind of enjoyed that. Yeah, took a while too, but yeah, that's what it's all about, I guess. Okay, and my final picture is the 4th of July. This was our East Stroudsburg celebration. I used the time exposure here, and I do have an Olympus camera, and it actually has the ability to, if you put it on a time exposure, if you set the settings right, the time exposure will actually show you on the screen what is being accumulated on there. And it has the ability to get the initial picture and then only add what is changed or new to it as time goes on, so that you don't get oversaturation on the earlier lights and images, things like that. And of course, it was complete luck that it came out like this. Many of them didn't come out quite so pretty. But to me, this is like it's like a Christmas arrangement. Just the beauty of the individual flowers, if you will, and then the background, which is actually just the reflection on the smoke from the firecrackers over a period of time, probably only 10 or 15 seconds, really, as they shot up a whole series of firecrackers. But I get just a really warm and fuzzy feeling every time I look at it. So I thought I'd add that one in there. Just doesn't look like fireworks to me. It looks more like flowers and plants. Questions, comments?
Thanks for sharing that one. Yeah, that's neat. I've never seen that.
Okay. And my final one was serendipity. I'm very pleased to take advantage of serendipity. I was puttering around in my kitchen, and a friend came up to visit. We do have the area out behind my backyard is all open field, so we do get our share of deer coming through to visit. And this doe came through, and just one of the pictures I got of her, she was just looking in the window, or it looked like she was looking in the window. She may well have just been looking at the bird feeder, because they kind of lust after those seeds, even though they're very small. But I got a little bit of the Christmas window decoration in there and the bird feeder itself, and it just comes out looking a little bit like a Christmas card also. So, and I took it with my mobile phone, a Pixel. I was a Pixel 6 Pro. But it just, again, it's one of those things that's an emotional feeling more than it is a technical quality of the picture itself. So, and that's the end of my pictures.
I like it.
Oh, Maury's up. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said I like it.
Thank you, sir. Maury's up next. Maury, you're here?
No,
Oh,
I
that's
think
too
they're
bad.
on the road. I'm not sure. I hope they are.
That's too bad. Maury's really gotten, I have no remarks for Maury other than my own impressions, and he's gotten really good at foggy pictures and moody pictures.
This is
And,
Hipsy Gap, right?
Yeah, this
He
is
likes Hipsy Gap.
he likes Hipsy Gap, and this is
Yeah.
up on Hipsy Gap.
Mm-hmm. I keep meaning to go up there. So unfortunately, there'll be no commentary to go with us.
Oh.
Oh, that's in the
You
lake.
know,
it's
Oh,
Goldsboro State Park.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wow.
She really liked Hidden Lake. She was really fond of going there, but okay.
Anybody that's been in the club for a while, I think you probably agree with me. It's really interesting to see how people progress in their photography as time goes on, from their own personal studies and practice, and hopefully learning from other members of the club and from folks on YouTube and things of that nature. But I've certainly seen that in Maury's work,
Yes.
as well as my own.
Ooh.
That's nice.
I like all of his work.
Really nice.
I will say he's got a very nice album on the website. If you go into the member albums, he's got a very nice series of pictures like this.
Hipsy Gap.
See a tree stand.
Water Gap.
This is Maury's last picture.
No, Water Gap.
And that puts Debbie up on deck. Debbie here? No, Debbie. Debbie actually submitted 6 pictures, and I was in the holiday mood, so I didn't cut any out.
You're not the Grinch?
No, not this time. I can be. If anybody had submitted after midnight, I would have been. Okay, so this is obviously 7th Street going towards the courthouse. An interesting perspective on it.
Yeah.
No cars? What time was this? 3 in the morning?
Yeah, it must have been 3 a.m. on a, I don't know. And I think
Street
most
sweep at night.
the Regal Theater down there in Northampton. That's such a classic looking theater.
Oh, I love them.
That's nice.
It's hard to take a bad picture of these guys, isn't it? They just look so strange, so beautiful. But this is remarkable.
He must have got
tightly framed.
on the island.
Yeah.
Where is that waterfall? Does anybody know?
Okay, Ray, you should be able to recognize this because you're the expert on waterfalls.
This is Digman's Falls in the water gap.
Things.
That last one of the Puffin, you almost have to go to Iceland or someplace to get those. I wonder where she took that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just have no
Egg
insight on
Island also supposed to see them too, right?
You supposedly can find them in Maine at the right time of year.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've been taking pictures of them there. Egg Island.
Let's see. Okay. I'm sorry to skip around like that. There we go. This is one of Debbie's also.
That statue place.
Is this grounds for sculpture?
Yeah, you're for sculpture. Yeah.
That's grounds for sculpture.
Wow.
Okay.
And Jen, you're up.
Okay. Apologies for hiding in the dark. I had a injury to my face and I look a little Frankensteinish. So.
Ouch.
I hope you're better in no time.
Thanks. So in April, Stina and I went to Vermont over the Easter weekend, and we drove around looking at covered bridges and waterfalls. So this one was simply called the Red Covered Bridge. And I didn't do much in post-processing other than enhance the color a little bit and the clarity. But I liked this covered bridge a lot because of the deep gorge underneath.
That was the first thing I noticed because we have a lot of covered bridges up here, but this is a dramatic landscape that it bridges. And next
one is one of the waterfalls we visited. I, in the 80s, late 80s, used to do a lot of bicycling in Vermont, and I had visited a waterfall called Moss Glen Falls. So we put it in the GPS and off we went. But there was a little hike to it, and I said, this doesn't seem right because I was on a bicycle and I don't remember taking my bicycle back in the woods. Well, it turns out that there was a second waterfall with exactly the same name, but in a different town. So this is the actual Moss Glen Falls that I rode a bicycle to, and you can actually see it from Route 100 in Vermont, south of Stowe. So you can, I don't think this one was taken from the road, but you can see it just as well from the road. This was a very special experience. I took a business trip in June to Brazil, and this was absolutely unexpected. I didn't even know that it was near our location. So we had some people say, oh, if you have time, and it's only 2-hour drive from where we were staying to Iguazu is the name of the waterfall. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's the world's largest series of waterfalls of I think more than 270 some waterfalls. So it just went up the river and was never ending and stunningly beautiful. So of an 11-day business trip, we got out of the hotel, office, airport one day, and this was what we got to do. So I feel very, very fortunate about that.
Yeah.
One of those natural wonders of the world.
Yeah, it was
Where
really
was it
stunning.
again? Where was
In
it?
Brazil, but it's also looking across in this view. There are viewing platforms. One is in Paraguay and the other one is in Argentina. So it's on the
Okay.
border of those three countries.
Called Iguazu Falls.
Iguazu,
Something,
yep.
yeah,
Yep.
something close.
Was there a lot of hiking to get to it?
Not a lot. There's an option where you can take a trail. This was sort of in the beginning, and then we went down. There's a viewing platform right over the waterfalls, which is absolutely stunning. And then there's another location where you can take an elevator down to underneath one of the big major waterfalls, but also with a view looking down the river to this series of unending waterfalls. So there were different options.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Then I think next in September, Steen and I took a driving tour. We left home here in Pennsylvania and drove around all 5 Great Lakes. This is a viewpoint on Lake Michigan, and there is nothing wrong with the camera angle. It's a very, very steep dune, and the little dark spots in the center are people climbing up.
Oh my.
And at the top, there's a big sign that says $3,000 fine or fee if you need to be rescued. So
That's cool.
And about a mile further up the road, there were dune climbs where you could pay to do it, and there would actually be people to pull you up if you had difficulty. So here it was not like that, and we stood watching for some time, but we said, okay, we can't stay until they get to the top. So I don't know what the outcome was for those people, but stunning view, really amazing, beautiful spot.
Really don't get any idea of the scale.
No, it's difficult to get that in a photograph.
I'm kind of grateful you did have people in it,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this was our most recent adventure to Denmark, where Steen is from. And this is a castle in Sweden called Trelleborg Slot. We didn't stay inside the castle. We could have, but the rooms were having shared bathroom. And then there were other little cottages where you could have your own bathroom. So we said, we'd really rather have our own bathroom. But we had dinner in the castle and a nice walk around the area there. So, and again, with all of my photos, very little post-processing, just bumping up the clarity and the color a little bit.
Is that near Malmo?
Northeast of Malmö.
So it's a little ways farther into Sweden from Denmark.
Yeah, Småland. In Småland. So what, about an hour, 2 hours north of Malmö?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jen. Now we hear from our president-elect, Steen Jensen.
I like photoing birds and animals and plants, and then do a little bit landscape. And this was a waxwing that entertained me in our garden here. And I was lucky enough to have time to find my long lens and get it. But it's rather much cropped. This is from Vermont, one of the fall pictures. We were there a little bit too late, so the mountains behind is already gone from the bright colors. But the combination, I like that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh.
And I love squirrels. And I think of that one that he wanted to have a camera to take a picture of me wandering.
You can't go wrong with squirrels.
Right.
Especially
The problem is that at home in Europe, they are very, very easy to scare away. So it's very hard to get a picture. And therefore, when I came here and they were just all about, I was simply got shocked and said, "Oh, that's a squirrel. That's a squirrel." So in our trip to Sweden, we got to see several of their memory stones from the Viking Age. And this is one special for, especially for me, because it's mentioned that this guy who is memorized here had land in Denmark. So he must have been a big landowner to both having land in Sweden and in Denmark. So a little bit fun to have our country's name mentioned on a stone from 1100.
So is this like a biography of a gentleman, a person?
It's the memory. It's the gravestone, you could say, where they talked about who he was and who put this stone up, and a little bit about him. And on this stone, there was also a poem, which I unfortunately can't give you out of my memory directly. But that is also a little bit special that there was a poem on this stone.
In Jesus' name?
And Jesus was then put on the back of it, and the feeling among archaeologists is that the guy was a heathen, and someone had decided that he should probably have a chance to go to heaven, so we better put on Christ and a cross.
What kind of a language is that it's expressed in?
It's in an old Scandinavian language, a little bit like Icelandic.
Runic, isn't it?
It is written with runic letters.
Amazing.
And Steen can actually read some of the runic.
Well, that was my next question. How did he know about that?
Well, that's handy.
He's an amazing historian.
I try and have tried during the pandemic to re-establish my knowledge about the runic stones in Scandinavia. So I have a little bit possibility to help if someone have a stone that they want to have translated. Unfortunately, there are no serious American runic stone that Scandinavians would believe in.
Steen, where was this stone found?
It is Karlevik in Öland on the east side of Sweden.
Oh, okay.
All right. So not Stroudsburg. Okay. And Steen's last picture.
We had a rainy day, and we had been driving for 4 or 5 hours, and we knew that the time was getting near where we wouldn't be able to take pictures anymore. and I had planned that we would end up in this place where there are 5 of these special windmills. They are called stump mills or stupmøller. They have a cross on the bottom and then one long stick up that hold the whole building. And when the wind changed, they moved the whole mill around. But when we were driving up there in rain, the sun suddenly came out and we had a wonderful rainbow. And then we got this wonderful light on the windmills. And there are no, I have done nothing except propping out a couple of cars. That's it.
Very cool.
Yeah, I do like.
Were they
those.
stationary when you were there?
They were stationary. They don't use them except a couple of times during summer. They for tourists they let them run. There are on this island 400 of them, and they are built in the late 1790 to 1810. Most of them were built and have been a little bit repaired, but most of them are as they were.
Well, thank you so much, Steen. Those are beautiful. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Well, thank you again, Steen. And we're on to Anne Lefevre. And of course,
And
Anne.
I am actually here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. If I can only make it advance here, that's good news. So I can put my notes away.
Hi. My other meeting ended early tonight, so I jumped on.
Okay. I believe Anne is our star today.
Let's see which one comes up first. Okay.
Oh,
Blueberry boy.
This is what I call, I named it after Gainsborough's Blue Boy, but I call him Blueberry Boy because obviously he's been eating blueberries. This is my grandson, Charlie. And Charlie is a poser. When I've got my camera aimed at him, he loves to give me the eyes, So he had just finished eating this big bowl of mixed berries, blueberries being the predominant berry there. And I said, "Oh, Charlie, you've got blueberries all over your face." And he just smiled and said, "Picture, Grammy." And then he gave me this face. The crazy thing about this shot was that in the background, it was the kitchen and there was all kinds of stuff. And I had been inspired by Marie Attenberg's lecture that she did. Oh, I think it's like 2 years ago now on backgrounds and textures and stuff. So I thought, I'm going to try this. I'm going to see if I can get a nice background for him and erase all that distracting stuff in the background. And this was the result. I used one of her textures and I thought it really made him, it obviously accentuates his eyes even more because it's like he just comes forward off of that background. So that's Charlie.
Your lighting,
Go ahead.
Your lighting,
go ahead, Susan.
Your lighting is great. This could be in a magazine.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, this is the original shot is all natural light. They have a lot of windows in their dining room, kitchen area. It's big open space. So, I was just taking advantage of the natural lighting for that one.
It's funny how some kids just naturally take to the camera and just always look photogenic. Of course, when the Australians call somebody a poser, they mean something entirely different.
So this was my year for people shots. I do not consider myself to be a portrait photographer, but it just seems like this year that's been some of my best shots have been people. This scenario, these 3 very talented musicians are members of our church, and they were giving a classical concert in December. Or no, wait, it was well, they were giving a classical concert, and they needed a shot for the posters that they were going to use to advertise the concert. So they're like, Anne, you're a photographer. You can do this, right? And I'm like, well, I'm not a portrait photographer. But they said, no, you can do it. So I came over when they were practicing and said, okay, I want everybody at the piano, just go sit at the piano. Amy in the middle is she's an opera singer. She's actually somewhat known in the opera world. Peter is the accompanist, and young Aaron there is a very, very talented young man, 16 years old, and he plays that violin like he's been playing it for 40 years. The only thing that I don't like about this shot was the background, but I needed to put them in context because they really wanted it to, they really wanted that there. So I'm like, okay, fine. And we argued back and forth about color, and they put color on the posters. But when I finally showed them this in black and white, they're like, you're right, we should have done black and white, because it brings out their facial features, and it really, you get that idea that they're there looking at the music and deciding how they're going to perform it and that kind of thing. So they were pretty good about taking directions. So I call this one, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Okay.
So this little girl was at Pickle Fest, and she was working on a stone that they had all these little stones that you could paint and put pictures on. And she was trying to work on one, and her big sister was behind her saying, no, don't use pink. No, don't use blue. Don't use purple. Use green. Use green. And she was getting very frustrated. So that's the expression on her face, is like, oh, sister, would you just leave me alone? But I just loved the concentration, like she's trying to ignore her sister and work on this little painting project. But she again, the background was so distracting. So I thought, well, her coat had that crazy little pattern on there. I thought, why don't I take this and make it more fanciful and more like a fantasy, once upon a time story kind of fairy tale. So I took her jacket and I cloned it into the background there, but then I changed the colors of the background so it looks a little bit different, and then added the butterfly and the sparkly thing just for the fun of it.
Oh.
And this was another little girl who we had a book fair at our church, and they had all kinds of arts and crafts projects that the kids could do. And she came in, and I just fell in love with her her cat ear headband. And again, she was just so intensely looking at these leaves and where she was going to put them on her picture. And I just thought she was beautiful. So I call that one the face of an angel, because she really was angelic looking. So
I love your editing.
And again, bad backgrounds. When you're shooting in a gymnasium, you've got that horrible tungsten lighting. So, you have to work with, how do you overcome that? So with the previous picture, I chose to go into sepia, erased a lot of the background, brought her forward. And this one is my masterpiece, because there was a poster behind them. There was a division in the wall. She had printing on her t-shirt. There was a name tag that I erased. I spent hours on this thing, but I'm so pleased with it because it just caught them at just the right moment where he's looking at me trying to check out and figure out what that black thing is in front of my face. And she's just encouraging, like, don't be afraid. It's okay. She's a nice lady. And I love that little hand up on her. He's just kind of like, okay, Mom, do I trust you or not? So.
Okay, Anne. Officially, you can no longer say that you are not a portrait photographer.
Yeah,
well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm getting more comfortable with it. As long as it's a natural candid, I'm okay. I don't know how I would do in a studio, but when I see them, I'm starting to really pay attention to the moment and the story behind the picture and the people. And when I see it and I'm able to capture it, I'm pleased with how things come out. So that's my year.
this was at Liberty State Park. And it's called the Reclining Statue of Liberty. And it was, there, I think it's gone now, but it was, it was there from April to October. And it's just like this artist from New York made this reclining Liberty, and I don't even know if it had a meaning behind it or not, but it traveled from like New York City to Liberty State Park, and then it went somewhere else in either Jersey or New York after that. But I thought it was pretty cool because like it's like spot on. It looks just like the Statue of Liberty, and it's just like chilling. So I thought it was pretty cool, and it really made, when I edited it, I kind of did like a dark tone to it because it was like a really gloomy day. Well, it started out as a gloomy day, and then it kind of got sunny afterwards, but it was like the fog and the skyscrapers behind it. So yeah, but it was just like really cool. I had to see the statue in person. I thought it was pretty cool.
It is cool. How big is it in reality?
Maybe about 10, if you lined up 10 people, maybe 10 or 15 people. Yeah, it was pretty big.
Cool.
Yeah. So this one, and my boyfriend and I went to Montauk this summer, and we went to the Montauk Lighthouse. And when we got there, there was a show starting. A woman from the Quag, I think I'm saying that right, Wildlife Preserve. She brought different types of rescued wildlife that they had. They had mainly birds, and she was doing like one of those little demonstrations, talking about them, how they rescued them. And I just thought this picture was cool because there's a bee behind the bird, and it kind of like photobombed.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
This picture, because the bee behind the bird, I thought it was pretty cool. He's kind of like looking like what, and then like there's this bee that's coming. It's pretty funny.
Did he have to go after? Did he go after the bee?
No, he kind of just flew right by, and that was it. But she was like walking around with them, so they were kind of like distracted by the people. So, but it was pretty cool because she went around and she let you she put them up close to you, but you couldn't touch them or anything. But so, yeah. Yeah, so this is from the roasting of the ears of corn, which is in Lehigh Valley in August. And like last year, I learned about it, of course, after it happened. So then like this year, I was like, oh, I definitely need to go because like they had all different tribes that were represented there. So they start off, it's a Saturday and Sunday. So I went on the Sunday. And on Sunday, they have their big powwow. So they have like all the tribes come in and they dance, they do like the tribal dances, and then they kind of like stop, they take a break, and then like they have each individual tribe like reconvene throughout the rest of the day, and they perform dances. So I was like walking around and I saw the headdress on the ground, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And there were a bunch of people that were going over there, and you can see this woman and her husband, they're Aztec dancers, and they were like getting ready in the back, and they were like so like they didn't want anybody to see them. Really, it was interesting. And then the man came out, and someone was trying to get his picture, and he was like, no, I need to perform first. So the performance was really cool. She has some type of like incense in there, and she did this ritual where she like walked around with that cup and like all the incense and smoke was going all over. But I just loved the costume. Like it was just so like the feathers, like the headdress is huge. And the colors are so bright. Like, so I thought this was pretty cool. And if it's in the Lehigh Valley, on the Native American Museum, like the grounds of the Native American Museum. So like if you're interested in like Native American culture, it's definitely like something that you'd want, because they have all like traditional like Native American food that you can get. They have people that sell things. They have like exhibits and demonstrations set up. They have like a teepee set up, and people like they talk about their tribe and where they come from, and different things. So it's pretty cool if you're interested in Native American culture.
I love the way the headdress fills the frame.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was huge, like on the ground. I was like, oh my gosh. And then seeing it on them, and her husband, I think it was her husband, he was shorter than her. He's probably like maybe about my height, and he had this huge headdress on. It was like so cool to see. And then I just like this picture. Same trip, coming home from Montauk. We went through Brooklyn because I'm originally from New York, so I wanted to take my boyfriend like through where I come from. And we stopped at the Verrazano Bridge, and I just love this shot. I just like love the way this bridge looks because it's like the longest bridge in New York. So we parked like on the street in Brooklyn, and we walked kind of under the bridge, like the pathway under the bridge along the river. And I just got this shot, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Just like, I just thought it was pretty cool. It's just the way it looks. Because this one is from upstate New York. My family reunion weekend was held in the Winter Globe Resort in the Catskills, and this was a waterfall that they have on the grounds there. And it's pretty cool because I didn't hike all the way down to it because I didn't have the right shoes. So I got as far as I could without like killing myself because it was like really steep and rocky and wet. So I took my camera and no tripod because I didn't expect it to be this beautiful. And this was a long exposure that I took handheld, standing on a rock in flip-flops. And I was like, okay, it came out pretty decent. So, and this one won an award this year in the Cuba Township, their yearly art exhibit. This one took honorable mention. So I was like, oh, pretty cool for a photo that I took just on the fly.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Good work, Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's Sam's turn.
Are you sure? Okay, so this one was from our trip to Chicago. The building in the background, I'm blanking the name out of it on my head right now, but it's over where all the fireboats are in the waterway along the was it Lake Michigan. So that was on a walking tour on the trail over by our hotel, looking into the waterway. You can go next. This is from the dinner boat, the General Jackson, I think it was called, in Nashville. You come underneath that bridge, and they come across the downtown city, and then we hang out there for a couple of minutes, and then everybody takes pictures, and then he turns the boat around, and then we head back. But over on the right side there, that's the main drag there in Nashville with all the lights and the bars and all that. And that bridge over to, you can't see it in the picture, but over on the left is where the football stadium is. You can go next, Bob.
You get around, Sam.
This was from this year was the year of vacations. We made up for it for the last not going anywhere for the past 3 years. And this year we had 3. This was from our cruise coming into San Juan, and that's the fort coming into the port. We hoped to get a tour of the fort, but by the time the boat docked and we got up there, the fort was closed. But we got some interesting shots. But that's from the bow of the ship. Okay. Now that is on this is at St. Thomas, and this was one of the lookup that they took us, and it's looking down into the harbor where all the boats come in. So that's where our boat was docked. Okay. And this, I just love this church. This was in Washington, D.C. We went down for a wedding, and I don't remember the name of the church. I have it in my notes, but it's down by Chinatown. and it was just the colors that day and the old brick of the church. It just really popped. It was very nice. Okay.
Wow. Around the world.
Yeah, it was a busy year. And I'm still trying to pay it off.
While he's at work.
Where are we at here?
Oh, this was our shootout down at the Canal Park. I don't know why that one came out blurry there, but it's a lot better in person. But that was at the Canal Park. If you walk all the way past where the boat was, up where the mules were and everything, that was the dam across the Lehigh. And I got down where one of the small creeks came off of the main river, and that's where that shot was.
It is sharp on my picture here, so
yeah, it's sharp
go ahead.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna
There
say,
she is.
sorry, man.
Just happened. Fix it. Yeah, there it is.
Sam, you get the diversity award for your pictures.
Like what?
You get the diversity awards for your pictures.
I had so many. I think it was up to 20, and I said, okay, I got to narrow this down to 5 or 6. I said it was too many this year.
Yeah.
good problem to have.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Yep. Thanks, guys. I'm glad I could finally make it. We finally got done with our service call here, so I can sneak away for 10 minutes.
Well, we timed it just right then, huh? Okay. Well, I believe Connie Reinhardt is up next. Connie, do you want to talk about your pictures?
Sure, I always like to talk. I talk too much. Our neighbor has a beautiful flower garden. She starts early spring until the frost, and she has flowers all the time. So I spent about an hour or two over in her yard taking pictures. It was late in the summer, and a lot of the blooms were past their prime, but I wanted to show all the pictures that I took, the flowers that I took in their best advantage. But this particular black-eyed Susan just caught my eye. I love the colors. I love the grace of the drooping petals. I love the texture in the middle. So I put it in there anyway, cropped it in real close. But I took another black-eyed Susan and cut it out. And I used that to paste the scattered flowers on the background. I believe they're on their own layer, and that's how I got them behind the central picture. And so that's the page I put in her book for that.
Nice.
Beautiful.
And then this was taken, that was from her garden, but it was put together for a PSA group, assigned subject group, and the subject was whimsical. And I often look at these trumpet flowers, and I think there's got to be some talented little elf someplace that can actually play these trumpet flowers, so I put music on them.
I love that.
Clever.
Cute.
You're our flower girl.
This was at Jim Thorpe along the main street. There were flowers growing, I think, at the hotel. But anyway, sunflowers. And I did get a nice picture of a sunflower with the black background, but I liked this bud. It was much more interesting. But the background was absolutely awful. And so I cropped it down, and I changed this, and I changed that. And then I tried about 6 different topaz looks on this flower, and it just didn't make it. And then I said, what about black and white? And this I like, because it almost kind of gives me a feeling of some alien sea anemone or insect or something, and I like it. That's it.
Is that focus?
It's so impressive.
What's that?
Is it focus stacked, or did you just?
No, it is soft. I was hand holding. The light was starting to fade. It is soft. If you look in the lower left quadrant, just slightly back, that's where the sharp focus is. Yeah.
It's very engaging. It's just amazing how we can get silk purses from Sal's ears.
Good depth of field for not having focus stacked.
Very good.
Yeah, no, I haven't even tried focus stacking yet, but I think I need to learn how to do that.
And the tones are great.
Yeah, and you couldn't see them in the color. The
No.
color got in the way, actually.
I like the light coming through them too. It's real nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And the light above it, the greenness above it, just really makes it special.
Yeah, I debated getting rid of that, but I kind of liked it, so I left it in there. And in the original, that was white, and then picture out of focus concentric circles was a bright pink in the middle of the white. It was awful. It was just awful. But I liked the bud. So.
Well, thank you so much, Connie. Those were beautiful. And we've got our prolific photographer coming up next, Ray Roper. Oh, I'm sorry, Candace Roper, who's also prodigious, but not quite as prodigious as her husband.
I think that was just, we managed to go several places finally this year. We got to Bedford graduation in May and Acadia, and this is at Acadia. And
Candace, can you stand a little closer to the microphone, please? We're not hearing you very well.
Where is the microphone? That's up there. Okay. So, for your assignment to find 5 different things that I like, I just thought of 5 different places to rent and some picture I like. And he took one of my words. One of my problems is that a prolific person who takes a lot of pictures, but he posts so many that find something of mine that's a little bit more unique than his is the problem. And then the other problem is I'll find something I really like and I'm setting it up and he comes up and he goes, "Oh, that's really cool." And then he takes out his superior standard and his wide angle lens. And then it's sort of like, oh, well, there went my picture. So anyway, we went to dinner and this is in Acadia and it was evening light and I just found this and it was just, I like the backlight behind the trees and where we were.
I might add
Really
that
beautiful.
this is a much nicer picture than anything I got at this location.
See, that's it.
Yeah.
I had to try to find something that he hadn't taken or he did something different. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It's really actually hard to capture somebody else's picture style, but no, I think you do quite well on your own. As long as you can leave him out of the picture.
Well, actually, a large number of my pictures have him in them. I do.
They do. Yeah, I think it's cute.
Yeah, that ruins your photography, actually.
No, actually, I do. It's one of my funny things. That's one of the things I do that he can't do, you see. But this was in Copenhagen, and this was a horticultural building, quite old, I would say, 1800s, but early, whatever. But it was the classic glass kind, obviously. And there was a stairway, and you were able to go up in the top and look down on the plants. But in general, I liked this because of the reflections I was getting from the sky. And the handsome figure. Okay.
Wonderful.
Aw. I like it too.
Looking old guy.
And this was actually the same building, and they had a lot of butterflies, and it wasn't as easy as it looked. They would not sit still. It was very hard, and my limited camera, but I enjoyed taking the pictures of the butterflies. So.
Beautiful.
And this, of course, is in Greenland. And we hiked up and down all over fjords and the ocean and everything. I like this mostly because of the rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was focusing on the rocks and the texture in the rocks.
Yeah,
And
wild.
of course, I was on the side, and we were with 8 people, and they went running off. They went running off, clambering all over like kids, you know. I did not go over there. It did not look like the type of thing I was going to clamber on. So I stayed on this side, and when they came into view, I took pictures of them, the rocks that I liked, and of course, some the icebergs.
My mind
love
wants
the
to make that
strata.
a dragon in the middle or something. It's so neat.
I was thinking more of the
That's
little
beautiful.
boats on the lake, you know, that the people ride around in, but you know.
You know, there's a saying that discretion is the better part of valor. I think you probably chose the better part.
Well, I know what I can do and what I definitely cannot do. So I just stayed over there and hung out with what turned out to be an Arctic fox. Came and checked me out. And that was beyond cool. Not that I have great pictures of him, but I enjoyed he came and checked me out and I got within about 3 feet of it. So that was my
Oh, wow.
that was my reward
Yeah.
for staying behind while everybody scary went off somewhere. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I just love those rocks.
Me too. I'm sure they're. And this, of course, you've seen before, but one of my favorite things, and not my limitations of my camera didn't hold me back here, but this is at Middle Creek here during the migration again this year. This is what the third year we've gone.
Well, we've been down there 3 times.
Yeah.
One of those was not during the snow geese migration, but this one was our first week in March this year.
And just sunrise.
Yeah. Everybody shows up at the same place and takes the same pictures, it seems like, but this is a very nice, unique picture, I think.
Well, it was funny because Ray had a similar one. Obviously, we go to the same places, and we entered the competition with it. Was it Lehigh Valley or wherever or who was it we compete with? And he entered a similar one, and the guy didn't like the too many trees and the way he had it edited. So I thought, okay.
Life like that.
Yeah, that sort of bent him out of shape there, but yeah.
Okay. And then coming next is our runner-up, Ray Roper.
Right.
Oh, love that. Classic.
Beautiful colors.
Yeah, well, the first comment I have to make is that I went through all of my 2022 pictures since we were supposed to, pick our favorites from this year. And I marked all the ones that I really liked, that I thought were candidates for this. And I ended up with 116. So what you see here is very arbitrary. But what I did try to do was we finally, like almost everybody else, got back to doing a little bit of traveling this year after 3 years of sitting on our butts on the couch. And so I tried to pick a representative sampling of places that we went. This is Bass Harbor Head Lighthouse and Acadia National Park in Maine. We went out I went out. My bride did not accompany me this time.
Yeah, you see those rocks, guys? That's one of those places I don't go. You can't see the cliff, but
getting down to where this picture was taken was pretty sporty, actually. And it was at I don't remember, but close to 5 o'clock in the morning. So it was a very early get up.
So you're saying, Ray, most of us agonize to find 3 to 5 decent pictures to post on something like this, and you agonize on how to carve down 200 pictures to something that's worthy of 3 to 5 pictures.
I did. It took quite a while to sort those down to,
Well, part of it is we went.
Must be tough.
This one is it was before the shootout that we had at the Pocono Environmental Education Center. So it's in the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area. This is Hornbeck Creek, and that is, it has different names, but most people call it Indian Ladder Falls. I got up at about 4 o'clock in the morning and drove all the way up there in the dark. And so it was very misty, and you're seeing a bit of sunrise there in the background. And I had a really good time shooting this waterfall. It was just absolutely spectacular that morning.
Beautiful.
Yeah, here we are in Greenland. The gentleman looking out across the water there, which is mostly ice, is looking out across the ice fjord. And it's reputed to be, according to the local lore at least, the most productive in terms of producing icebergs of any place outside of Antarctica. So of all of the Arctic, production of icebergs, this one is supposed to be the most prolific. This was about a 3-mile hike, 4-mile hike out to this particular location.
And again, that's like a 200-foot cliff down down there.
It's a substantial drop down to the water, and the icebergs are huge, massive.
I had one like this with the sun reflected in it, but he already quit. But it wasn't easy to get out there. We had one of the husbands that liked to go around and climb all over, so he made a nice model.
You really can't capture the scale, can you?
No.
It's hard to
Can't
get the scale.
Well, if you see this white cliff over here, yeah, that's about what you had right here. So
no, yeah, but you can't.
You can't tell that. There's no.
That
You can't see the drop off.
That white ice cliff is probably 200 feet high.
That's why I said 200. And we also saw whale right in that.
Oh, wow.
This, of course, is from our more recent trip that we took down to Louisiana. This is on Lake Martin, and it's near Lafayette, Louisiana. One of the several cypress swamps in that area. And we had a guide that took us out at sunrise and then again at sunset. This one is the sunrise version. And he and my wife are paddling the kayak, and I was in another kayak by myself.
Amazing. Looks a little bit Asian to me, just the trees and the way they reflect on each other.
There was haze on the water, not near as much as I would have liked to have seen from a photographic standpoint, but there was haze on the water that you see, on the horizon line.
Beautiful. Just really graphic.
This one is at Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area during the snow goose migration, and I love the way the light shines through the wings on this particular shot.
Thank you so much, Ray. Those were beautiful pictures from all over the world. We come to expect from you. Lois, are you available? Okay, we're going to have to go with Lois without comment. I have no backup notes for her.
That looks like Tuscany.
Lovely.
That's why,
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is actually one of my favorites right here. That guy just looks like he's having such a good time. And I like drums. There's just a spirit there. Sorry. A little bit noisy here, but great framing.
Wonder if that's a texture of some sort.
Yeah. Oh, purpose, yeah.
And that because the statue doesn't look that noisy.
Well, it looks like noise to me, and especially with the fringing around the edges right here.
Yeah.
That takes away from it, but it's really an interesting picture.
Yes.
There's a different look at gondolas. Okay, well, I know Carrie's in the house, so you're on, Carrie.
Okay,
This
mine's
is
fast.
cool.
I won't keep you guys all long. So, if anybody that knows me, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Anybody that knows me knows I really despise the 8-legged version of critter, but this particular day, I had the most special experience. I was doing macro in the backfield of a house we were renting in Ohio while we were helping my sister-in-law just over the border from West Virginia. And I sat watching the puniest, tiniest little spiders all follow each other out this one strand. And I just decided that particularly this group of spiders would be best to crop out, because honestly, I have to be honest, I just watched them forever. They were just so intriguing to me. I felt like I was watching them come out and be born for the first time. It was just neat. Anyway, that's all I have about that.
I just love that, the way you can find the most interesting pictures from the most mundane circumstances. And that really caught my attention.
You did a great job with depth of field too.
Oh, thank you.
In the background, just lovely.
That's a really
it's just compelling. You don't see something like that.
It's a really great shot.
It was so special. I'll tell you what, and just like the rest of you, the series, I have way too many images in this series that I took this is the one that I settled on being my favorite.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of getting into photography, is it changes the way you look at things. You wouldn't have noticed something like this if you hadn't been into photography.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. Oh, it was great because my husband was exhausted and he was taking a nap and I was like, see you in a few hours, So this is a tree frog. Real life, I have, if you'd like the whole story, my daughter raised it from a guppy a tadpole that she saved from somebody's stagnant swimming pool. And, yeah. So anyway, she raised a dozen of them or so. And this was somebody's portrait. So I don't have any.
No, it's beautiful. Yeah. It looks pretty casual.
They don't move at all when you're looking at them. They definitely know if they move, they're seen. But I think I might have missed it. I didn't miss his eye. I didn't think, but I certainly think I probably could have done better on a tripod and with a little more depth of field. But oh well, this is what I have.
My favorite subject, it doesn't move. Okay, let's see if we can find another one here.
Let's see, I have a couple. I don't know. So I heard one of our fine members earlier tell us that she loves like the things that just seem a little unusual or something. I don't know. Sometimes I do too. I find I don't walk past certain things anymore. Like I want to remember. I just want to remember how it felt to me. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It's just an ordinary thing in the forest when you're walking, and it's kind of what draws me to my happy place, I guess.
It's unique, but it's ordinary, but it's unique. It really is attractive.
Thank you. I don't know if there's another one. Oh. And I just felt like it evoked emotion to me that I felt like there was some humbling. Maybe we all need a little bit more of reaching out towards each other. And this seemed like elephant trunks, whatever. You could get into it, whatever you want. But I felt like some emotion. So I thought if it made me go, maybe it would make you too. I think that might be the last one.
Excellent choices. Yeah.
Thank you.
They're beautiful.
Thank you. And I'm sorry about getting to you so late.
Isn't it funny? Yeah. I should mention Carrie was the absolute last entry at 11:34. So
sorry.
I was going to cut anybody off after midnight, and nobody came after midnight. So that's wonderful. But it's so hard to pick your pictures, to figure out what will be of interest to other people that you like also. But yeah. I think everybody's done such a fantastic job so far. And let's see who's next. Oh, Bradley. Bradley never disappoints, I think. I don't think Bradley's in the house, is he? No, he doesn't seem to show up too often anymore, but he has some great pictures. His specialty is macro, which is not. But it qualifies as a great picture. Isn't that beautiful? Just the tones of it.
It's lovely. Yeah. Jeez. I wonder how long you had to sit there for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fact that you have to work really hard to get a picture doesn't make it a great picture, but sometimes you have to work really hard to get a great picture that is a great picture.
I wonder if he had a trigger for that lightning or if it was a time exposure.
Yeah, either that or some sort of a time exposure, because it's dark enough. He could have gotten away with a time exposure, maybe.
Usually when you see lightning pictures, it's with a trigger because there's no way to time it. But if you leave the shutter open long enough, obviously you're going to get something.
But it works. I love the way the rain shower is coming in on the left right here, and it's clear to the right, but they got the thunderstorm kind of leading the way.
Where the lightning
it's nice work.
Where the lightning goes through the clouds.
Nice. Very nice.
And he's not here to tell us whether this is red sky in the morning or red sky at night.
It's a beautiful.
With the recent snowfall that we had on Wednesday, was it? The sky was beautiful red. It was just lovely because I had a car appointment early in the morning, and it was lovely. But of course, I knew that meant that it was going to be bad weather following it. Red sky at night, sailors. Red sky in the morning, sailor take warning. Red sky at night, sailors delight. So, and last, probably not but least, but not as dramatic as the others. Oh, not even last. That's actually quite interesting there, isn't it?
Yeah. Be a nice Christmas card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the graphics of it are just interesting. That's my favorite. There's just something about that,
That's adorable.
Anthropomorphic, Yeah. The colors, the actual subject, the expression. Every once in a while, you fall into something like that, don't
Background. Perfect.
Background is perfect.
Yeah. I'm sure he had a little control over the background and things like that, but there's a little serendipity there. But it's one of those things where you're prepared to take advantage of it when it comes along.
Yep.
Nice work, Bradley. Oh, Dave Trainer. Dave's not here either, is he?
I don't think so.
That's too bad. Dave takes wonderful macro pictures. Of course, I say that, and then of course it's not a macro, but Dave was a biologist by training, I guess. And my experience with him was whenever we went to the Cranberry Bog or someplace like that, he was always hunched over some very small plant, taking very intimate pictures. This doesn't qualify for that. Anybody recognize this area?
No.
Nor do I. What does it say? Just Dave Trainer.
Dave
takes wonderful.
Badlands National Park.
Looks like the Badlands.
That would be as good,
I was gonna say
a guess
Badlands.
as anything. Yeah. Mountains underground. Yeah. And of course, this is what I used in my reminder picture this morning because it is quite an endearing picture. And I really like this picture too.
Perfect placement.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very nice. And let's see. We got two more for Dave.
I hope it's one exposure. I just love it.
Huh. Okay.
No.
I couldn't venture a guess.
Aw.
And even though this is a fairly mundane bird, it's just such a beautiful picture.
Yeah, the red makes it come out. That's beautiful.
Uh-huh. And there's the framing of it in the background. There's just everything about it makes it look nice.
A couple little buds on there, like nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Wonderful. Okay. And that was Bradley. And that was it. That's a wrap. We had a pretty good meeting, I think. What do you all think about this? Was this an enjoyable experience?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
It always is.
Very much so. Yep.
Yeah. There's something about doing it in-house like this. I think it really adds to it, and being able to talk together a little bit, I think, as opposed to listening to somebody that you could see on YouTube. There's a lot to be said for that, but this has its advantages also. And I hope we can maybe do this more frequently. Of course, that means we have to contribute to it too, but more work for us instead of relying on an outside speaker. But Man, there's a lot of payback, I think, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so nice. I feel like watching other people's photography, and I've always felt this way. Like it's just there's something intimate about sharing those things that are special to you. And I did appreciate I did the same thing as Ray. Like I appreciate that you gave us that it had to be within this calendar year. I was like, all right, I can do that. First, let's go right to my Lightroom, filter out everything that's not 2022, and then start from there.
Hey, if you can't if you can't pick something 3 to 5 pictures within the last year, maybe you don't want to be in photography.
Maybe not.
I mean, you should be able to find something. I mean,
Well, I think
none of
most
us
of us
are professionals, but I mean, we got to be proud of something in our year's work.
No,
I think most of us have more than enough to choose from. We just don't know how to narrow it down sometime. Now, I don't have Ray's problem. I don't have thousands of pictures to go through, but
Ray
even
has a problem.
even for me getting, when I get like 20 of them, I'm like, now how am I going to get this down to 5, But I think like for this year, when I started really looking at the things I was most pleased with, it was something totally outside of the box for me. And that's how I ended up doing all the portraits. But I had some beautiful fall color pictures from being down in Kentucky and a few other things that didn't make the grade. So I'm going to use that as a reason to say, if you have pictures along as the year goes by, please send them to me for the newsletter, because I really enjoyed just featuring pictures this time. I thought it looked really nice, that I could blow them up and make them even larger than usual. And so, olivetreeann@mail.com. Yes, it's mail.com, not Gmail. But olivetreeann@mail.com. I would love to put your pictures in. So I'm making a pitch. Please send me your pictures.
I'm gonna second that. I'm gonna second Ann's request, because she pesters me if you don't send them to her. Okay, but I will also second what she says. Let me just stop this share and share one more. As webmaster, I have the opportunity to work on the website. And one of the things we instituted on the website is the featured members section. And I have to choose these pictures. And where do I choose these pictures from? I choose these pictures from the member galleries. And what I do is nothing particularly special, but although it's come on now, it's very enjoyable to me, time consuming, but enjoyable. I just start in with whatever I left off with last time. I keep a record of it, and I look and I start going through the pictures. This is Maury Harmon, and I find pictures that are just eye-catching. Eye candy is what I call them, because what I'm looking for is to find things that will attract your attention. Let's see if I can get out of here. Attract your attention to the homepage. That's certainly attractive, Anne. And then down here, you'll see that we say, well, you can see more of this good stuff. There's Maury's fog work right there. If you want to see more of them, click right here. And we've got lots of them. We really do. I only take 1 to 3 pictures from each of these albums right here, come up with my featured albums. And it's a true pleasure for me to do that, because, well, it's a pain, because it's hard to only pick 1 to 3. No, seriously, it's hard to pick only 1 to 3 when you have so many choices to choose from. It's difficult. It really is demanding. But excuse me, I know that through my recommendation that, you can go back and look at the rest that you missed out, because it says it right here. Consider, let's see, like what you see here, click through to the Pocono Photo Club album list right here. So please take advantage of this. More so, please take advantage of posting pictures in the member albums. Does everybody know how to do that? If you don't know how to do that, you certainly can follow the tutorial right here. And it's not obvious, but it's easy. That's all I can say. It's not obvious, but it's easy. And post your own pictures right here. Your own friends when you post pictures here. So you go out on a trip, you go on a vacation, you come back with all the nice pictures. I'm about ready to go up to Massachusetts, and Andover is a beautiful town, and Lowell next door is a former industry town. It used to have a lot of mills and things like that. It's got some beautiful buildings, things like that. Just put together an album of pictures you've taken on a recent trip, or just something a photo objective you've determined, and share it with the rest of us, and it'll inspire the rest of us. It really will. And I'll be happy to clip out some of the best of them, or I should say the most eye-catching, not necessarily the most technically proficient, and post them up here on the homepage. Okay, I've rambled enough, but it really is worthwhile. If you want to get some bang for your buck out of this photo club, you really have to share, and so you can inspire others, and so others can inspire you. I've gotten an awful lot of inspiration just in my position here, and I've seen the improvement. Like, for instance, Maury Harmon. This picture started out, and please excuse me for saying this, a little bit on the bland side. He likes to take natural pictures, nature pictures. His pictures have gotten downright interesting in the last couple of years, and this could be all of us. So please join us in advancing our art and our trade. I don't consider myself an artist. I'm not a professional photographer, but anything I can do to make my pictures more interesting to others, I'll do it. I'll do it. And so for that reason, I think this particular show, this presentation has been quite a success. And I thank you all for that. Carrie, I'll turn it back over to you. Stop rambling.
Oh, I'm not even talking on camera. Thank you so much for all you do, really, Bob. And thank you so much for putting all the work into this and have it all ready for us, and emceeing really all the way through it. And I really, really appreciate the help. I know John appreciates us being able to stand in for him, and we put this together in about 5 minutes, right? And probably about 10 emails. But honestly, no, really, excellent job. I think that's on that. I'll take my leave and say good night, folks. Time to get back to the family, and I hope you all have a safe ride home. I mean, after all, don't drink and drive. So no, really, good night, and thank you so much. Merry
It's nice
Christmas.
to be among friends. And even though we can't meet in person most of the time, it's so nice to be able to share our thoughts on these things.
Right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Christmas.
Joy.
Good night.
Good night to all.
Good night.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's.
Good night.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.